Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hergianti Puspita Dewi, and today I would like to present about late Victorian era. Late Victorian era. During the 19th century, Queen Victoria ruled England for 64 years. This period was characterized by strong industrial development and the emergence of a distinct and opulent style in literature, art, and architecture. The beginning of the Victorian era marked the end of the mass production and uniform tendencies of the Industrial Revolution. Characteristic of late Victorian era. It is reflects a change in social, political, economic, and cultural climate. It also affected by the industrialization and technological advances. Recurrent issues included poverty, class, gender, and religion. Characteristic of literature in late Victorian era. In early Victorian art was heavily influenced by realism and faithfulness to the true aspect of nature. Most of the art incorporated a moral or spiritual undertone to realistic, lifelike scenery. Late Victorian art began to abandon the realistic aspect of early works and move into fantasy and mythology for thematic material. Many late Victorian pieces can be described as eclectic and ambiguous. Most Victorian art contained bright and cheerful colors and a stark attention to very small detail within the scene. The English landscape of rolling hills and small farms was a common backdrop in Victorian art. Common themes of the Victorian art created during the 19th century depicted women, in particular nudes, fairies, and landscape were common. Famous authors and their works in late Victorian era. Charles Bronte and Charles Dickens. Charles Bronte, born in April 21, 1816, and died in March 31, 1855. Charles Bronte was a famous English novelist and poet who left behind a rich legacy of written work which includes classical novels like Jane Eyre, Shirley, and Village. She was the eldest among the Bronte sisters, Charlotte, Emily, and Anne, all of whom were writers and poets of the highest standard. She was someone who refused to blindly follow the norms of the society demanded of women during her time. She was a fiercely independent woman who introduced the literature world a new kind of heroine who defied age-old societal expectation to emerge as a courageous and fearless individual in her own right. Her one of famous work is Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is a novel which was initially published in 1847. Charlotte Bronte published her work under the pseudonym Corbell, which is a male name, for nobody respect and value women writers in England in that period. Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens, born in February 7, 1812, and died in June 9, 1870. He is an English writer and social critic. He created some of the world's best-known fictional characters, and is regarded by many as the greatest novelist of the Victorian era. His work enjoyed unprecedented popularity during his lifetime, and by the 20th century, critics and scholars had recognized him as a literary genius. His novels and short stories are still widely read today. His one of famous work is the posthumous papers of the Pickwick Club, London, 1836 until 1837. Surrendering to his humorous vein, his first novel makes him a promising exponent of his country literature. Published in installments, the origin of the text is in Robert Seymour's drawing, and the idea was of Dickens to imagine the adventures of the grotesque member of a club of ancient hunters, led by Sam Pickwick, an aristocrat as naive as he is unhealthy. They lead us on an unforgettable journey through England. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a good day.